Hello, I'm continuing my reviews on the Godzilla series with Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla, which I have on the same DVD as Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, which is the next film in the series and will be my next movie review. Now, Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla came out in 1994, and this is the 21st film in the Godzilla franchise and the 6th film of the Heisei Godzilla series. Now, Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla is considered by many to be the worst of the Heisei era, and is also considered to be one of the worst Godzilla movies. Now, I'm gonna say right up front that I do like this movie, but a lot of my defense of this movie is really just nostalgia, and I really can't defend the movie on anything besides that. Now, I first saw this movie when I was 8 years old, and I used to love it as a little kid, but that's the thing. I was a little kid when I first saw this movie, and I think a kid is definitely gonna like this movie, but watching it as an adult, I still like the movie, but I'm not blind to the fact that this movie has a lot of problems. And I would say, technically speaking, this probably is the worst of the Heisei series. Now, the Heisei series gets a lot of praise from fans for being much darker and much more serious than most of the Showa series, which was the original Godzilla series, with the exception of the original Godzilla, because I don't think any of the Heisei films ever got quite as dark as the original 1954 film. But of all the Heisei Godzilla films, this is the one that feels the most like a misplaced Showa-era film. Like, this is a really goofy movie, but it takes itself so seriously that it kinda makes it funnier, in my opinion. Now, the plot of Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla is it's set sometime after the events of Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, and G-Force, which in this series is a branch of the Japanese military specifically trained to fight Godzilla, builds a giant robot called Moguera. Now, it's never actually stated in the movie, or at least not in the English dub, which is what I watched, but I think you're supposed to assume that Moguera was built from the remains of Mechagodzilla. But basically, G-Force hopes that Moguera will finally be the weapon that could kill Godzilla. Meanwhile, you start following sidekick Miki Sagusa continuing her arc from the previous film, where she's now against them trying to kill Godzilla. She feels that mankind's best hope is to learn to somehow live with this creature. But she's approached by a group of people who want to use her psychic abilities to help them control Godzilla to keep him from attacking humans, and she reluctantly agrees. But in the movie, an alien version of Godzilla comes to Earth. In the film, it's theorized that somehow Godzilla's DNA got into space, either by when Biollante went into space, because Biollante was made from Godzilla's DNA, or when Mothra went into space, like perhaps Mothra had a sample of Godzilla's DNA on her when she went to space, but basically Godzilla's DNA, it's theorized, somehow got sucked into a black hole, where it formed into SpaceGodzilla. But however he came to be, SpaceGodzilla has now come to Earth to destroy the human race, so now mankind's only hope rests in its greatest enemy, Godzilla. So the movie culminates in a battle at the end between Godzilla, SpaceGodzilla, and Moguera. Now, in the film, Megumi Odaka reprises her role as Miki Sagusa, and this is really the first time where you see her as a main character. Prior to this, she was more of a supporting character. Unfortunately, Miki is not very well written in this movie, and is honestly kind of annoying. Now, I genuinely like this character in other movies, but in this movie, yeah, she does not work at all. Now, I think Megumi Odaka does a really good job in the movie with what she's given, but again, the film does not do this character justice. And you would think it would, because again, she's the main character this time around. I don't know if maybe that's a sign that this character only works as a supporting character and can't really carry a movie by herself, or if it's a problem with the script. Now, in the movie, they give Miki a love interest, a G-Force lieutenant named Koji, played by John Hashizume. Yes, you could tell that pronouncing Japanese names is clearly my forte. And he's an alright character, but his friend Kiyoshi, this guy is an absolute cartoon character. Like, he literally feels like a character from a different movie. And he's played by Zenkichi Yoneyama. Yes, I know I'm probably not saying that right. But to me, the best and easily most interesting character in this movie is Yuki, played by Akira Emoto. Yuki is a member of G-Force who bears an almost Captain Ahab-like grudge against Godzilla. It turns out that he was actually best friends with Colonel Gondo, who is a character from Godzilla vs. Biollante, who was killed by Godzilla, and ever since then he has sworn revenge against the creature. Also, Colonel Gondo's sister is a prominent character in the movie, who also becomes Yuki's love interest. This movie actually has a lot of callbacks to Godzilla vs. Biollante, which I like because I do really love that movie, even though when you think about it, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah changed the timeline and technically erased the events of The Return of Godzilla and Godzilla vs. Biollante from existence. I guess you're supposed to assume that the timeline got fixed somehow, but that's never explained. But hey, Godzilla vs. Destroya also refers back to the events of Return of Godzilla and Godzilla vs. Biollante, and doesn't get nearly the same amount of shit that this movie does for doing that. Kenji Sahara has a small role in the movie, playing the same character he played in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. So does Akira Nakao as Commander Aso, another minor character from some of the previous Godzilla films. And in the movie, him and Yuki have a very interesting relationship that I kind of wish was explored a little bit more, but in the film you could tell that Commander Aso is kind of intimidated by Yuki. At the same time, it's clear that he cares very deeply for him. Now, throughout most of the Heisei series, Godzilla was portrayed as either a villain or an anti-hero. This is really the only time where you see Godzilla portrayed as basically the hero of the movie. And suit actor Kenpachiro Satsuma does a really good job at giving this character a lot of pathos and making you care about him just as much as you would a human character. In the movie, they bring back the baby Godzilla from the previous film, only he's much bigger this time, but in the movie they give him a more cutesy kind of look, and they make him look a lot more similar to Minya from the Showa series. But SpaceGodzilla, I think, is a really cool monster, even though he has a very convoluted origin. I also really liked Moguera in the movie. Sure, I would have preferred it if they somehow brought back Mechagodzilla, because tell me that wouldn't have been awesome. Godzilla and Mechagodzilla going up against SpaceGodzilla, but what do I know? But even so, I do think Moguera is an interesting robot, and he's actually based on a character from Ishiro Honda's 1957 film, The Mysterians. You also have Mothra making a very brief appearance in this movie, but it's literally just a shot of her flying through space, and it's like, come on, why couldn't we get Mothra in this movie? Because technically Mothra's job is to defend the Earth, and here you have a space monster trying to destroy the Earth. Why the hell isn't she doing her job, man? But I understand that they probably didn't include Mothra in the final battle for budgetary reasons. But also, Mothra's appearance in this movie kind of creates a continuity what the fuck, because the Cosmos, who are Mothra's fairies, in the original series they were called the Shobijin, but in this series they're called the Cosmos. They come to visit Miki to warn her about SpaceGodzilla, but it's like, in Battle for Earth, they didn't say 2 words to Miki, so how the fuck come they're going to visit her to warn her about SpaceGodzilla? Why aren't they visiting the characters that they actually interacted with in that movie? And also, where the hell did Miki get those earrings with Mothra's symbol on it? And probably the movie's biggest failing is it is horribly written. It introduces things that need explaining that are never explained, or it introduces interesting concepts but never follows through with them. For example, there's a whole subplot in this movie where Miki is kidnapped by the Yakuza who want to use her psychic powers to help them take control of Godzilla. A really interesting concept. They do nothing with that in this movie. Literally, that whole subplot leaves the film as quickly as it came into the film. There's even a character who's revealed to be a traitor, who's kind of built up to be the main human villain of the film, but he dies really freaking hilariously. But again, that whole subplot had a lot of potential, but there's nothing done with it. Now, all that being said, I actually do like this movie, but I don't really know why, because again, objectively speaking, this is probably the worst of the Heisei series. This is not a very well-written movie at all, but there's still something about the movie that I do like, but again, I can't really put my finger on it. Maybe it's nostalgia, maybe it's just that I'm a Godzilla fanboy, I don't know. But I can only recommend this for Godzilla completionists or diehard Godzilla fans. If you're a newcomer to the Godzilla franchise, yeah, do not start with this one. Especially if you're just getting into this particular era of Godzilla, do not start with this one. Now, before I end this video, I want to cut to my friend Christian Feliciano giving his thoughts on Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla.
Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla really confuses me because if you look at the other films, it seemed like we were going away from the alien stuff a little bit. It seemed like, you know, like the Japanese government created Mechagodzilla. We were kind of getting away and making it more, I guess, believable, and more darker. And all of a sudden, now there's SpaceGodzilla, a creature created out of space to, you know, destroy Earth, and then Godzilla has to now fight SpaceGodzilla with the help of Moguera, the robot that was created to destroy Godzilla. You know, I don't know. Maybe the fans were asking for it. I don't know. I enjoy it to death. I thought that was cool. That's a nice callback to the originals. But it was just confusing to me why they changed Mechagodzilla's origin, but then they kept aliens in there. I don't know. It was just interesting. A weird little thing there. I guess maybe they wanted to take aliens out a little bit more and just stop using aliens all the time and just kind of do something different. Because even King Ghidorah, they changed him from an alien to, you know, a product of atomic energy. So I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to do something different and, you know, just add the aliens here and there. Who knows? But it was. It's still a fun movie. I really enjoy it. It's really fun. This whole new series of Godzilla films, like I said, if you want to jump on these and you don't want to watch the originals because maybe you think they're too corny or something, you could definitely jump on these and enjoy them just the same. You'll enjoy them a lot, and especially if you're a fan of the new ones, you'll probably enjoy these a lot more than you would the originals. Not that these are as serious as the new films or as well produced as the new films, but just in the sense that you're dealing more with humans and less with aliens and the fantastical stuff, you know. And yes, you got it, but this is more serious Godzilla, so you kind of get that same kind of not tone, I guess tone, but not really. I don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, you get that. So, you know, you'll probably enjoy these a lot more. And yeah, thank you so much. I recommend this film for everybody. And yeah, bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed Christian's take on this movie, and that was my review on Godzilla vs. SpaceGodzilla, and my next review will be Godzilla vs. Destroya.